Hello, hello, hello. Hiya. New Patreon update. Last resort. By that I mean, everything else I've tried to shoot has failed, so I thought I can't go wrong talking to a camera. I mean, I can, but I can edit it out. A lot easier to edit something like this than when you're trying to fix something, it just doesn't work. There's nothing you can make out of that. Anyway, hi, how you doing? Thanks for being here. By the way, I've got a fan heater on down here because my feet are freezing. So if you hear something in the background, it's that. I'm also still using the Rode wireless mics. Now this is just a lavalier that goes down to the Rode transmitter. Hold on, I've clipped it down here somewhere. So that's the transmitter, the receiver's on the camera, and it's probably the last time I'm going to be using these in a video. I'm not too sure. I might keep these just for this angle and then use the other ones for other things, because I got these new DJI wireless mics. Now, I'd recommend, if anyone's thinking of getting these, get the full set with the two things. You might think, well, I only need one. Yeah, but with the two, you get a nice little charging case, and it makes a massive difference. If you just got the one, you'd be like, oh, I wish I'd got the charging case, you know, like immediately. So just save up the extra. Also, the benefit of this is, in here, whoops, you get your two wireless microphones. So that's one of those. And of course that would, let me just clip it here, I'll try not to talk downwards while I'm doing that because it booms into the microphone. So that'd be one of those there. And then this is the receiver end here. And of course that'd be plugged in via a wire to the mic input on the camera. But the idea is, of course, if this battery was to run down, I could have just used the second one. I could just swap over here, and so I wouldn't need to wait for anything to charge. So it's quite useful having two in here. So a nice little case. Cool thing is, I'm going to put it nearer the camera so it focuses on that rather than me. Get my head out of the way. You get a little display on there. It shows you the battery levels as well as, you know, other information that's useful. This is like a swipe interface, which you can move around on. Another cool thing, in here we've got adapters for plugging it into the bottom of an iPhone or USB-C. And you attach the USB-C adapter that I've got on there at the moment. Don't know if you can see that. And I thought, oh, I'd have to take that off when I put it back in the case. No, they've thought of that. They made a little cutout so that even if you leave that on, it'll still hit its charging point in the bottom, which I thought was a very considerate thought that they've done there. So that just fits neatly in there. At least I think it does. Yeah, and you can close the lid on it like that. Anyway, I've used these with a little bit of stuff I was shooting, which I didn't end up using, not because of these, just because the thing I was trying to fix I couldn't fix, and it was a waste of time. But they seem to be all right. The levels, I use them with, oh, you'll see them in this video actually. There's a section that I shot about noodles. It'll make sense later. Well, actually it won't make sense, but you'll see it later. Anyway, for that I used, what camera did I use? I think I used that one with the Rode mic, sorry, DJI mic. Yeah, so you'll hear the example of that in a bit when I go to that section. But also, do you remember my little Pocket 2 camera? And this is the all-in-one kind of selfie stick / tripod for it, which I use in the video at some point when I'm shooting something. I'll sort of point this down at it like that, and I've got it all set up on the counter. Well, you can also plug your DJI receiver into this, into the USB slot on here, like so. Whoops, I say like so, I've just buggered it all up, hold on. Like so, there we go. And that is now receiving whatever comes through from this microphone. The only downside is that you really have to put the gain up for some reason when it comes to using it with this device. I don't know why they've got it with such a low mic input level, but you put the gain to maximum on there, make sure that you also have this microphone quite close to be able to get like a sufficient volume going through it. It might be because they don't want it peaking out, and of course there's no way to adjust the recording level inside the DJI, is it Action 2? That's what this is, isn't it? It's the Action 2. But yeah, it makes a nice little sort of vlogging setup, if you want to call it that. Yeah, you got your camera, you could be doing this, you got your wireless mic. All works together really well, which is one of the reasons I got this. I thought I'll better use it with this, and indeed I can. Now you can use the Rode mics with that as well. I worked out, you know, that you could get the USB into there and it'd work with those as well. But it's just a less why have words gone? I want to use the equivalent of less neat, but I'm not using less neat because it's not appropriate. Let's use less neat. Let's just pretend I'm a moron. So it's a less neat setup, because if you use the Rode with it, you've got like a wire of your USB-C wire to wire thing, and that's sort of hanging down. You don't know where to put it. Whereas with this, we've got the USB-C on a connector, so it just all holds itself together. Anyway, enough about that. But I just wanted to mention that these they're working well, and I'll be using them in future. They've also got little fluffy wind muff things that they come with. But yeah, if you are thinking of getting them, get the whole set. You'll regret it if you don't. Right, okay, and we'll see more of those in the future. Anyway, I wasn't going to make this a particularly long one, but I think it could be. Let me explain what's been going on. I apologise for the January output. I have tried my best. I wanted to put together some good videos, and everything's just gone wrong with them. I mean, I had to go over to my father's for a couple of days to try and sort out the sale of the house. It's still, there's issues there and problems and all. Don't get into all that nightmare. But beyond that, when I get back here, I'm thinking, right, I'll start on a video. And I started on one video, and it was like a little rival to the original Walkman. And it obviously needed new belts. I'd imported it from Japan. I thought, I'll just open the back up, swap the belts out. The trouble is, this thing was made like 1980 or something, 81 maybe. Very well constructed, really solid, brass flywheels, all that kind of stuff. Impossible to swap the belt on. I say impossible, there'll be somebody, I can do that. Like, there'll be a guy somewhere on the planet who's the guy who could do it. It wasn't me. I was taking boards out upon boards out, sandwiches of things and springs and wheels and desoldering a ribbon cable on this side and a ribbon cable on that side, both of which had 6 pins that went through the board, taking that out, and I got down and down further into this thing, and I sort of I got the belt which I'd had delivered. There are cheeky beggars selling the belt kit for this thing. It's like they know full well no one's ever going to be able to do it. Like, yeah, it's the right belt for it. You're never going to be able to replace it. So I got all the way down into it, and it just beat me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get it to do what I wanted it to do. Nothing fit. The belt didn't seem to have the right path on it. But even beyond that, I'd never be able to get it back together again. Everything had just gone out of whack completely. So that was the end of that, but it was a bit disappointing, more than a bit, because I've done research on this thing. I've got like some pages out of magazines and brochures, I'd downloaded things, and it would have been a nice little sort of story, but I couldn't tell the story really with the thing being in its broken state, and I wanted to just show it working. And I mean, I suppose you could talk about it a bit, but it's not, it wouldn't make a good video. You know, sometimes you know that there's not enough there. You've got like a bit of a video, you've got like a part of it, but you haven't got enough to make a whole one, and the part isn't any use on its own, and none of the parts are. They've all got to be added together to make the thing a full video. So that one was disappointing. So I was a bit, I'm really emotionally connected to the videos. You know, when they go wrong, I get really quite sad. So I'm like, oh bloody hell. So I'm moving on to the next one then, and the next one was like a Walkman, no, a mini disc player, Sony thing. That was an early one, and when I'd ordered it off eBay, it was all working, and by the time it arrived, the display wasn't showing up. There was no information on the display. It still worked. You could put mini disc in, you could hear the audio, but all the programming and menus and everything, you couldn't do any of it. It just lit up this display, and I thought, oh, that's hopefully just a loose ribbon cable or something in you know, while it's being delivered. It's been in my locker now for about a year, and I thought, well, I'll get that one out because I could just get that open, fix the ribbon cable, and then go on and do a video about that. That'll be, you know, trying to catch up type thing. So I get this out, I open it up and take everything apart, and it's all nicely socketed, and put some contact cleaner on and put it back in, and the display just never came back. I took it apart every which way possible and wiggled everything and looked at every solder joint with a magnifying glass and looked for cracks, and I think the displays just died and that was it. I don't know why. Well, I've got a feeling. I mean, there were little bits of broken plastic inside, like the part that held the front on, and it looks like the thing must have got dropped somewhere in transit to break some of these bits of plastic off. But it wasn't like the thing wasn't smashed completely. You wouldn't have known unless you'd opened it up and noticed some of the bits where the screws went into were snapped. But yeah, so that was another couple of days. So then I'm sort of now, as I'm talking to you, it is Friday. I started on Monday making videos and I have nothing to show. So by the way, I know there's people always say, oh, you could show, like, trying to repair that thing. No, it's just taking something apart. You know, if you just got something and you're like taking screws out and then you're taking more things out and you're just taking stuff out, you just keep going and going and going until you got like loads of bits and you go, that's the end of the video. It wouldn't achieve anything for anyone. There's no enjoyment or entertainment in that. So the enjoyment I'd take was once I got it back together and demonstrated it working, I could then talk about what's interesting about it. And also it would have had the context of having a look inside and seeing the way it was constructed, but it just wouldn't fit together. So yeah, Friday, waste of time, complete failure of a week. And I feel like a kind of bit of a loser because I intended to get 3 videos at least out in January, you know, in the whole month. And as it is, there's 2. But we'll move on from that because I say you can't do anything about it. You can't cry over spilt milk or whatever you're supposed to say. But let me turn this heater off now because it's getting a bit excessive down by my feet. I think I'm going to set on fire. So let's just move on and talk about something that has worked. The videos I did manage to get out. First one, I did the pinball video and a little virtual pinball table. And I've got an insert that I can put in this video now that I shot while I was making that, just showing you the camera rig setup I was using at the time. Because I mentioned, I think, when I put the video out and I put it on the Patreon, I put a little bit underneath it, that it was a beggar to shoot that thing. And it took like longer than it should have done. It took me a good couple of weeks, maybe two and a half weeks for something that really should have been like a 1 weeker. But yeah, so I'll show you this insert now while I have my cup of coffee and my Medic tablet and all that. And then we'll come back and I'll talk to you then about importing from the US, because people ask me how I got hold of this thing that's only available in the US and how I got it to the UK and prices and that. So we'll talk about that next. I'm doing what's it called on the telly when you kind of do after the break, we'll do this, that and the other. Oh, talking about that, before we, no, I won't do this because I'll go off on a mad tangent. Here's the bit about the pinball and the camera. Oh, by the way, I was a bit tired when I shot this, but here we go. Right, I wanted to show you this crazy setup that I've had to put together to try and adequately record this Legends Pinball Micro. I realised once I started shooting stuff that a pinball doesn't look great on screen because it's a vertical playfield and you've got a horizontal screen. So I thought a good idea would be to fill the screen up by showing the back glass and the playfield at the same time, side by side. And I also realised that I'd need to shoot it in a 60 frames a second mode and put it out on YouTube as that, because if you do it in 30 frames a second, it makes it look jerky when it isn't. It's really super smooth. So I didn't want to do the whole thing a disservice and make it look like it was a bit janky when that would just be down to the cameras. So I thought, right, got to do it in 60 frames a second. Unfortunately, I don't have any 4K 60 cameras. The one you're looking through at the moment, 4K 30, ZV-1 up here, 4K 30, this HX99, 4K 30, I think. But I can put these into 1080p 60 mode. So what's happening here is the ZV-1, the Sony ZV-1, is pointing down and shooting this playfield here. The HX99 is shooting the back glass.
Loop level 2.
Of course, I start recording on both and then synchronise them with a clap and then put it together in the editing package. 3, 2, 1.
No fear, people. Captain Zach is here.
Also, that ZV-1 is on its side. It's shooting vertical video that way rather than a horizontal one. So then when I do a side-by-side, it's getting as much resolution on screen as I can. Still, doesn't look that great. Just looks a bit kind of muddy. I've done a lot of testing. That's one thing with this. It's taken a lot of, I mean, getting these brackets up here in the right place without everything fouling each other, and then trying to record it in a way that I'm happy with and getting all the lights right. There's a lot of messing about, Oh, also the big piece of cardboard up here I've had to wedge in there to stop all the reflections of all the stuff at the ceiling and all that, because otherwise you're just looking at a load of reflections on this glass. So possibly the most difficult thing I've ever had to shoot. In fact, I'd say, yeah, definitely the most difficult thing I've ever had to shoot. But I say I wasn't too happy with the 2 lots of 1080p 60 side-by-side results. And my plan initially was to go through every game. It's a silly plan now when I think about it. After I got through a couple of pages of those and then looked at some of the results, I thought, well, it doesn't look all that great. So I'm just going to use some of this stuff. I need to shoot more of the playfield. And I need to do that in 4K 60. I do have one 4K 60 camera, and that is this DJI Pocket 2. Now, obviously not ideally set up for this kind of thing, but with it being a gimbal camera, what I'm doing, I haven't done these bits yet. This is on a monopod, pointing at the playfield here, and I can adjust the angle down to get it just right. And I'm hoping that if I sort of get the angle like that on there, so I've kind of got a vertical one, quite a bit of side on here, I might do some talking to the camera on this video and then shove that off to one side. So it's me on one side, vertical pinball table on the other, or I might just jump cut it in between. A lot of thinking about this one, a lot of time, nowhere near finished yet. Probably shot about a third of what I want to record. And at the end of it, it is a very niche subject. I'm sure there's very few people who are interested in this, but I'm interested in it, which is why I'm making the video. You know, I'll make videos about things that interest me. I'm very happy with it, actually. Brilliant little thing. Can't recommend it highly enough. There are some issues with regards to usability and things, menus and just odd, like slight oddness. But when you get into a pinball table and start playing it, all that's forgotten and you just kind of get engrossed. I'm not the biggest pinball person in the world either. That's one issue that I'm going to have with this one. Every review I've seen has been like people who are really into pinball and know all about it. I'm going in this like a bit fresh with the whole thing. I've played a few games over the years and that's about it. So all these tables on here, people have been like, oh, it's a classic and this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, it's the first time I've ever seen it. So there's a lot going on here. I'm trying to get it squashed down, I think, into a video that will be worth watching. And I have my doubts already at this point whether this will be an entertaining video, because it's just difficult. It's a really difficult thing to do. Yeah, I just wanted to show you this because I've already spent like best part of a week and I've got very little footage so far. And if you're wondering why the first video in January took so long to come out, it's because I've been trying to get this thing recorded. Anyway, yeah, that's enough of that. Yeah, like I said, I was a bit tired when I shot that. I was really like worn out with the whole process. I don't know if it came across, but yeah, I was absolutely knackered. So oh yeah, I was going on about teasers before and I forgot the word teasers. There's no words in my head today, but yeah, I was doing a teaser for this bit, which is this bit now. But I was just saying, you know, when you watch television and they have the show starts, it says in this episode or coming up, and they'll do a big thing at the beginning that show for the first minute and a half, it seems nowadays on most shows, of like what's happening later on in the program. Does anybody like those? They're a massive turn off for me. As soon as the coming up bit comes on, I thought, no, I want to watch the program. I don't want it ruined. So I have to fast forward, and I go to about a minute and a half in most programs, and it gets into the program. And sometimes when you're going into the break, it's after the break, and they'll show a little bit more. I don't want to see that. Does anybody on the planet want to see that? And have they ever proven that that will get more people watching the program? Because if I see that at the beginning of a show, I just always fast forward past it. I've never sat there and made my mind up that I want to watch a program based on the coming up. So I don't know who thought that that was a good idea, but I'd love to find out whether or not it has actually done anything. And if it has, it shows that people are idiots, because you just watch, if you're watching the program, you're watching the program. You don't need to know what's happening later, because you will be there later when it happens. Anyway, I know it fills in time and all that kind of stuff, but anyway, all right. But yeah, coming back, I was going to talk to you about buying from the US, right? So the company I use is myus.com, and I've used them 3 times now. The first time was for a little step-down power transformer thing that they only sold in Home Depot. The second one was when I wanted to get a Jackery power supply from the US, so that I had one that had a 60 hertz sine wave, output at 120 volts. I could talk more about that. Maybe I will in the future. But that was I went to my US at the end as a last resort after thinking I was getting it from somewhere else. And I should have gone there to start with, because it just worked fine. The process was slick. And then this last time I got the At Games Legends Pinball Micro. Now, the way this website works, well, the first time I used it, I didn't really understand it very well. And they give you an address, a pretend address in the US. And so I went on like Home Depot and put this pretend address in and paid and all that. You don't have to do all that. It's not that complicated. What happens is, you say I went on the At Games website, right? Just on my own, have a look, right, what the At Games Legend Micro. I then go into myus.com, say, right, I want this from At Games Legends. It's the At Games Legend Micro. It costs this much. The postage is this much. Click order. And then they order it for me and get it sent to them. And then, because I've got an account and it's got my name and address and all the rest of it, they work out how much it'll cost to send it on to me. Total invoice for the whole thing. I think I might have to pay something up front initially for them to put the order in, and then it all becomes clear when you use it. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but basically they're ordering it in the US, then sending it on here to the UK. And you might think, oh, that'll be expensive, but I mentioned before I had a chap who said that he'd send me a Nakamichi cassette deck once. Very nice chap, but when he went to the post office and priced it up, it was $500 to send it, and it wasn't worth it. Now, I couldn't push this guy around and say, well, you should try this company or that company, try DHL or UPS. Or, he was doing his best in helping me anyway in the first place, and he was just trying at the post office, and that's what it cost. So I know it can cost an awful lot of money to get stuff from the US to the UK, especially more nowadays. That was since then. Well, to get this Pinball Legends Micro pinball table, which is a heavy thing and a chunky thing as well, in the US, the normal price of it on the At Games Legends website is $449. But it says in brackets plus $50 shipping within the US. There's like not an option not to do that. So I suppose if you went in a shop and you saw it, it'd be $449. But if you order it from the website, it's $449 plus $50 shipping, so it's $500, right? So this pinball table costs $500 if I lived in the US. Now, to get it sent to the UK, including that, it was $581. So basically, it's like $81 shipping, which is like a bit of a bargain, isn't it? That's £470 if you convert it to the UK. So $581 US total price on the My US website that I had to pay, which is equivalent to me of £470. But then there was £100 duty I had to pay in the UK from DHL, I think it was, the parcel delivery company, before they'd deliver it. So in total, I paid £570 for something that in the US costs $500. So obviously it's quite a bit more expensive. Now, one thing that does happen often on the At Games Legends website is they knock $100 off. And I put this in the video description. And I got the usual, the price has gone up since you did your video. It's the Techmoan effect, the usual thing. It's like a world's full of conspiracy theories. But I had taken the screenshots at the time on their website when they were having their New Year's sale, because I shot it around about Christmas. And so it had just gone down by 100. But then by the time I'd made my video, it had gone back up by 100. But then there was like the January sale or something, so it went back down by 100. So it's not worth paying the full price. I paid the full price because I wanted to get it sorted and get it delivered and all the rest of it. If I'd have been prepared to hang on a bit, I'd have been able to get it for $100 less, and it would have been the wisest thing to do. But once I saw that I could actually order it through my US, I got a bit excited. Thought, yeah, I'll do it before they realise like it's a big, heavy, stupid thing that they don't want to ship. But as it is, I'm sure you can get it all the time anyway. So yeah, it's if you were to get it like at its highest price, £570. If you get it at its lowest price, I'd imagine it'd be about 470, give or take, because remember the duty goes on the price of the thing and the postage is the same, but they bought it $100 less, and I think it'd be about 100 quid less. So yeah, that's it. Just go on myus.com and you can order US stuff from most retailers and get it sent here to the UK. And it's only worth it for things you can't get here. So I haven't used it often because most things I can get here. So that's the pinball bit. So you've seen how it was shot. Nightmare. I wouldn't want to do that again. You've seen how I got one. You just go on my US and you'll figure it out. You follow it through there if you want one. But again, as I mentioned in the video, I think that if it does eventually end up here in the UK, better to get it here. You get a warranty. And I'm sure it'll be cheaper. Well, I say that, looking at the prices now, I'm not too sure, because that Liberty Games company that does the larger one, if you look at how they've converted the price, brought it across, I don't think it'd be any different to getting it from via my US and having it shipped yourself. But the big difference is you're going to get some kind of warranty. So that's worth it if you're spending that amount of money, I think. So perhaps worth holding on. By the way, the @Games people got in touch with me, and they said thanks for the video type thing. Would we be able to send you some game packs? We could send you Dr. Zeus Pinball Pack 1 and some other one. And I wrote back and said, well, thanks, but I've got the Dr. Zeus pack. And they just said, oh, we'll just send you the other one then. So I thought they were going to like swap and say, oh, we'll send you this instead. But no, they just said, all right, we'll just send you the one. So apparently they've sent me through a link. I haven't looked at it, but yeah, I've got some other pinball table game pack. But yeah, I mean, obviously in that video I was a little bit critical of them in certain parts, like I always am with everyone, but they still linked to the video on Facebook and that, so I think they were glad of the promotion. Weird thing though, most of the comment, well, a lot of the comments from people saying, oh, @Games are rubbish. @Games did a rubbish Genesis console years ago and all this. It's like, yeah, they might have done rubbish years ago. This isn't rubbish. Just be happy that there's something good come out, rather than trying to bring everything down all the time, making everything miserable. Now let us just break things up a bit. I'm moving things around off my list because I realise things have got a bit boring. So let's talk about the lack of taste combined with what I have for my lunches. I don't know if this is going to work, but I shot something because I was desperate this week to just get something recorded. So here you go. This is the bit where I was using the new microphones as well. So see what you think of this. So yeah, as you know, I've got the things that stop the taste going up to the taste receptors on the edge of the brain. They're kind of like things right up here somewhere. And it's smell, really, is what the problem is. But the smell is something like 80 to 90% of your taste. I mean, you can't quantify these things. But I know if you take the smell aspect out, which is what we've took out, you don't get the flavours in the kind of sense of if you're eating something with your eyes closed and someone said, is that salmon? Is it chicken? Is it venison? Is it steak? You wouldn't know. Oh, is it lamb? Any of that, you wouldn't be able to go, oh yeah, that's a nice, well-cooked thing with rosemary and garlic and blah, blah, blah. No, you can't get any of that. You'd say, I'm eating meat and it's a bit salty or something. Now, the salty aspect of it, that comes from your tongue. Your tongue's got these senses: salty, sweet, bitter. Is it bitter and sour the same thing? I printed out the page, hold on. Yeah, the taste receptors: saltiness, sweetness, bitterness, sourness, and savouriness, which is known by the Japanese name umami often, which the Japanese of umami translates to deliciousness. So I've still got the deliciousness sense, but it's on my tongue. Now this is a categorization system. The tongue is saying, oh, you can eat that, you can't eat that, or it's a bit sweet, it's a bit sour. And then once the kind of smell and flavour and all that gets up, you go, oh, it's a strawberry, or it's a blueberry, or it's a raspberry, you know, that kind of level. But no, you just go, oh, that's a bit sour. And that's all I get. So I just get that very base kind of the categorisation before it goes off to the other department to tell you what the proper flavour is. But it says here, salt elicits a pleasant taste in most humans. Sour and salt taste can be pleasant in small quantities, but in larger quantities become more and more unpleasant to taste. That's when you're not supposed to be eating the thing. But in addition to that, I think that there's other things that go along with it. There's the texture of the food, very important. You don't just want to eat slop, do you? The spiciness, so you can kind of feel the kind of burning sensation in your mouth or on your lips or whatever. And there's the actual temperature of the food itself. I prefer things that are warm, hot, really, almost too hot to eat. I'm not into my sort of salads and cold meats and stuff. And then, of course, there's the thickness of the viscosity. If you're eating something and it's like a thick, hearty stew versus like a watery consomme or something. But I've got a bit of a. You can still have preferences. You could go, well, I like things that are a bit spicy, thick, rich, salty-ish, perhaps. Umami is very important because if that isn't there in stuff, I really notice it because it's like, that is when I feel that it's tasteless. I go, well, all I could taste was salt. But if you add in the umami, deliciousness, then you go, oh, that seems quite nice, that. Yeah, it's good quality or whatever. It's weird because I'm not getting the proper flavour, but I'm just getting this categorisation system going through, going, yeah, that's okay to eat, it's the right texture, it's hot enough, and it's got a richness to it of flavour, right? Now, when it comes to lunchtimes, I just tend to have something quite simple to eat. But this is where I'm coming to my point. Pot noodles. Well, not pot noodles, cup noodles. Nissin cup noodles. This curry one is the one that I get imported. I've tried all the UK flavours. The beef one was okay. I've had that a few times. The seafood one is too bland. They do a spicy seafood one. And that one's pretty good, but it's all out of stock everywhere at the moment, and I think that might be a bit of an import. International trade to the UK has become a bit weird, and you can't get some things that you could do a few years ago as easy. So anyway, I get these. They're pretty expensive. They work out perhaps about £3 a cup, whereas a normal one would be about £1. So, you know, like triple the price, but to me, triple the quality. So, yeah, those are what I like. I like getting the cup noodle curry, but there are other ones, and I say I've struggled to get them imported. So as a result, I've gone to the source. I've got a box full. Now, the company that I got this from, I think they put a thing in here. Unpronounceable. Saqra S-A-Q-R-A Mart. S-A-Q-R-A Mart. Actually, we've got it on there now. Will that focus? There you go. You can probably do that QR code if you were clever. You have to buy like 150 quid's worth or something like that before they'll send them. So, there we go. There's one of the cheese curries. It's going to try and focus on my head, so if I put that in front of there, that's the cheese curry from this end. So basically, that's like the curry one. Thick, rich, kind of really hearty, but with little cubes of cheese in it that kind of melt into it. These, I remember these. Some kind of wonton noodle. So you can hear like a bit of wobbling about. So that's like a hot and sour wonton, I think, that one. I haven't tried this one yet. Chili tomato. That's one that I fancied. It's a pro edition of the cup noodle. And I remember getting these once, although you can't seem to get them anymore in the UK. These have a big piece of tofu on the top. So it's like noodles with tofu. I think these are slightly different. Yeah, these are rice noodles, so the flat white ribbons. This is I think it's a wonton noodle. Oh, sorry, wontons with noodles and some kind of spicy, kind of almost hot pot type of thing that goes alongside it. This is the last one. So that's the tofu one again, but this time round it's I think a spicier one. I'm not too sure. Of course, trouble is, look at the instructions on these. I have to get the Google Translate out, but you don't tend to need it. What you do is you put everything in, you stick it hot water in. The big trick with them is let them steep for ages. Like, rather than, it says on the side, like, pour your hot water in, leave it for 3 to 5 minutes, that kind of thing. No, leave it for 10 minutes. Let it really soak in, and then by the time you come to eat it, everything's like really swollen up. You've left your noodles long enough so that they become like really thick. I think that is the end of them. I mean, I've got a whole box full, but I think I've shown you one of each. Let me just do one of these now. We'll because it is lunchtime. Let's do one of the ones with the tofu on the top. Right, kettle's boiled, so let me just open this up. Right, so it's a bit of a simple one. There's not an awful lot going on with regard to stuff. We've got the piece of tofu, and in the bottom here, just got that cake of noodles. And in here, we've got the powder, whoops, that needs to go on the top. So I'll just pop that in there, get the whole thing covered up. We've got the fill line here somewhere, but I don't tend to put things right to the fill line. I like things to be a bit thicker. Oh, maybe need a bit more than that though. It's not going to go up to the top of the tofu. Yeah, we'll have to go to the fill line after all. Seems they knew better than I did. Right, we'll just leave that in there for about 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes are up. Now I don't think this is going to be the most exciting one to show you because there's not enough stuff in here really. It's just that big bit of tofu on the top. And then a few bits of veg mixed in with the noodles there at the bottom. But yeah, it's basically, this one's like a soup more than anything else with a big bit of tofu. A few years ago I found a school book from when I was about 6 years old, and I think I'd been given the homework task of writing about something I didn't like. And one of the things on that list was I didn't like watching people eat, I wrote down. I think that's carried through. I don't like watching people eat. And I don't know if it's the look on their face or just the kind of food going around or the idea of someone chewing. The reason I mention that is because watching me eat noodles now is perhaps the last thing you want to be doing. So I'll just blur this section out. Yeah, this was not the best example to show you. As it is, it's all right. It's kind of got that umami thing. It's got it's not spicy, this one. I can tell you that it's like a kind of, I don't presume beef broth or something. Slightly salty, but not in a nasty way, in a good way. Of course, we've got this big thing we have to eat. Now, this is awkward. In the past, what I've done before I've cooked these, I've cut this part up with scissors. It's quite soft, and you can just cut it into little cubes, and then you can have it dotted all around this thing. I forgot to do that this time, but that wouldn't have been a proper demonstration of what actually happens. You just get this massive piece of kind of fried tofu, and it soaks up all the broth. Well, not all of it, but you know, it's quite heavy with it. If you want a food review from a guy that can't taste stuff, all I can say is that it holds together all right, this thing. You know, as a lunchtime thing, it's fine. I quite like these rice noodles when they're in soup because, you know, if you try to have like little stringy egg noodles, it won't work. They work well with a kind of soup base. But yeah, this is very much more of a soup with tofu in it than something like the cup noodles, which tend to be like more of a stew. So anyway, yeah, this one gets my approval. I'll be having it again because I bought them and they cost quite a bit of money. And I'll have these alternating with the cup noodles, and hopefully they've got a good long date on these because I've got with that thing you have to buy so many of them. You end up getting more than you need. I mean, I've probably got 20 or something if it'd be down to me. I think I've got more like 80 in the house now, so hopefully they'll last long enough for me to get through them all. If I'm shooting this the same day, I thought since I've got the camera out, I might as well just use this now. And I noticed, by the way, the date's on the bottom of this one, 2nd of May 23. So I've only got like just over 3 months to eat all these. I only got a couple of these cheese ones this time, so there's not many of those. Right, now, so there you go. What you see in this one, a lot of brown stuff. These are little cubes of cheese. It's like I don't know if you got like a stock cube or something and crushed it up, but loads of bits in these. That's why I like the cup noodles. These are so rich, these ones. But also on the top, you got that little pack of cheese that you can put on the top of it. And of course, there's nothing to think about with these. Well, you know, sometimes when you get different packets inside, you wonder if some of them are before you cook and some after. Well, with this one, it's already here. So all we have to do is fill it up to just past that point there. I think that's it. What I tend to do with these, I get a fork jamming in and sort of moving all up and down a bit, just make sure everything's got the water all around it. And then that's another one I'm going to leave for, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes. I think I'll leave it for 3 minutes, give it a stir, leave it another 5 after that. So there we go, that's that. Alright, half-time stir. So you can see now, some of those bits, there was like little cubes of sort of meat in there. It'll be tofu or something, but it just gives you the same feeling, the same texture as having beef. I think these are like a kind of beef curry with cheese. I've never had these whilst I had a proper sense of taste, so I don't actually know what the real flavour of these is. Alright, back for my second helping, so let's just have a look. See, there's no liquid on the top there at all now, it's all soaked up completely. I'll just give it a bit of a stir, just like how stodgy that is. Now, if you don't like noodles, you won't like that, but that's like a... just... once you've had one of these, you don't want to eat for hours later. I mean, it's not like most noodle things that are just like a little tiny snack. That's stodge, that. Look, my fork will stand up in it. Right, let's pop some of this cheese stuff on the top. Frankly, it doesn't need it, but anyway, just grated dry cheese. I'm subjecting you again to the thing that I intensely dislike, is watching someone eat, so just look away for a moment. A cheese curry, I'd probably go for the normal curry. I don't know if the cheese curry tastes slightly different. I can't quite tell. The normal curry seems maybe perhaps a bit spicier. I mean, they're both nice, but I think the cheese curry is like it's gilding the lily. Is that the phrase? It's already good enough as a curry. It doesn't need to be a cheese curry. They are good noodles though. Just wanted to pass on that advice. If you want to get noodles, don't buy the ones that you see on the shelves in the shop. Get the ones from Japan. They know what they're doing. They're experts in this. By the way, I had the wonton, or one of the wonton ones today for lunch. Wasn't the best. I still go with the cup noodle curries being the best ones that I can get hold of by a long way. But yeah, I've got a few more to try yet. Right, going back to more normal things that you might expect to see. The Amstrad video that came out just a few days ago now, and I did a bit of a re-edit before it went on YouTube just to shorten it down a bit because I felt it was dragging in the middle. And changed the thumbnail a bit because it looked all right on my screen, but any time you made it into a small icon, the text and the Amstrad word disappeared. So I took a picture of the speaker, or in fact I've got the piece in here, a piece of plastic somewhere that I took a picture of. No, I don't know where it's gone. Right, anyway, so yeah, I don't know, it hasn't been that successful because it's not a universal thing. Most of my viewers on the channel are outside the UK, and it's very much a UK-centric topic. So just something I suppose I could bear in mind in future, try and get things that are more universal. But it's something I wanted to talk about. Reason being, I get people recommending things to me sometimes. You know, you should take a look at this. Hey, look at this, isn't this cool, and all that. And a few times they've been old Amstrad things that they've shown. Like, hey, look at this hi-fi. Look how cool this is. And I'm thinking, oh, people don't know, do they? They've either forgotten or they never knew in the first place. If it's like I've been through a war or something that I remember and then younger generations that don't understand. But if you were around in the early 80s in the UK and it was a punchline for comedians, Amstrad Hi-Fi at one point, I distinctly remember. And then, you know, if there was a character in a TV show that they wanted to portray as being a bit of a pathetic moron, he'd have an Amstrad Hi-Fi. You know, I'm not saying people were who got them, but that's kind of the way it was portrayed. It was like a kind of loser's Hi-Fi. You'll never guess what my new Hi-Fi is. Oh, let's have a look. It's an Amstrad. Oh, flipping out, you know, everyone would be laughing. So it got to that stage, it was just like a punchline. And now, all these years later, people are sending me links to it and saying, look at this looks cool. And I thought, oh, this is bad. We can't have a revisionist history like this. We need to sort it out. So I ended up getting back my old SM101 Hi-Fi. I bought it, I don't know, 8 months ago, a year ago, something like that. And I stuck it up in the attic. It'll have been middle of the year, early to middle of the year last year, because I wouldn't put stuff up there in the winter normally. And I'd left it up there and it's been in the way and all that. And I thought, well, I should really get on and do that. And again, I'd got into this thing in January where I was trying to find something that I could do that I thought, well, this will work. And when it was delivered, it was broken on this corner. I thought, well, great, I know it's broken, so I'm not going to have to repair it. I'm not going to be opening this one up trying to swap belts over or anything. I just want to talk about it as a subject and show the thing. I don't know if the message has kind of got across or if it looks like I'm... If you read through the comments, you'll get an awful lot of people who went through the same thing that I went through, and they deeply regret getting one of them, and they felt like a fool, and they were conned, effectively. They were like ripped off. It was like once bitten, twice shy type of thing. And then you'll get other people trying to, I had one, it was fine. And they think I'm some kind of hi-fi snob by saying that I didn't think it was very good. But it wasn't that. I was 12. I wasn't a hi-fi snob. It wasn't a good thing. You know, like say you got a bicycle for Christmas that was crap, weighed a ton, and the chain kept falling off and the handlebars were all wobbly and all that. And if I was to speak about that now, it's not that I'm some biking snob that only wants some carbon fibre thing that's worth £10,000. It's like, no, my bike back in 1982 was crap, just like my hi-fi back in 1982 was crap. It doesn't change the quality of the thing, however much my tastes over the years have changed more recently towards wanting better quality things. Doesn't mean that that wasn't crap back then, and it was awful. But I was like, is it Oz Retro Comp linked me to something from some chap was saying that I'd put it out deliberately at the same time as The Apprentice, which is a program that Alan Sugar features on in the UK. I can't say I haven't. I've never watched The Apprentice. I've seen adverts for it, and it's a program that, based on the adverts, I'd never want to watch, so I've never watched it. I didn't know they were still making it, but I put my video out at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday just because, dead midweek, I thought. Yeah, because I hadn't done one on Saturday or Sunday. I thought, right down the middle of the week. And I thought 6 p.m. because people in the UK have had the tea, and then also going back in time to the US, when those people get in and want to watch the telly or whatever, or want to watch YouTube, they might find it in the evening. So 6 p.m. seemed like a good time. No point putting it out at 3 in the afternoon when everyone in the UK is at work and everyone in the US might, well, either asleep or at work or whatever. And then by the time they get home, they've forgotten it because they saw it come up as a notification, or there's a new video from TechBone. And then by the time they get home, it's kind of forgotten and no one had watched the video. So, it's like picking a suitable time. That's why I like Saturdays and Sundays at 10 in the morning, because the 10 in the morning thing is a specific time, because I notice when I put anything out before 10, it will get figured in on YouTube stats for the previous day, because I think the stats are based on the US time, and at midnight in the US it clicks over. Well, because it's going to be West Coast USA, what happens is if I put something out before 10 a.m, it's classed as the day before for the first, say I put it out at 9 in the morning. For the first hour is classed as the previous day, and then the rest of it's classed as the day after. And I think that affects how YouTube looks at it, because they think, the first day you only had 10,000 views, and then second day it took that 10,000 off my total. Second day wasn't so good. So that's why I picked the 10 a.m. thing, because it was like start of a new day, get a full day's stats in. But yeah, 6 p.m. was just right. Anyway, I don't even think that programme was on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. I'm sure it's like a Friday or Saturday thing or something. I'd say I've never watched it. But besides which, Alan Sugar sold Amstrad to Sky TV in like about 20 odd years ago, 30 odd years ago. I don't see the connection. I don't see what that's... me saying that my hi-fi from 1982 is crap is somehow having a connection to a TV show on the BBC. And like I say, most of the views come from outside the UK anyway. I think I'm trying to get on the coattails of a programme I've never watched that's on a different day in the UK that most people in the US would never even have the ability to see. Now, I just wanted to show you something. I went on the Rolling Stone website. This is a long video, isn't it? I didn't mean to make it this long. I hope you don't mind. But I just want to have a chat, really, because I'm kind of bored not getting anything on film. I like to make progress. I haven't done it so far. Anyway, for whatever reason, I was searching on something. I found a link, and it took me to Rolling Stone, this page about boomboxes. And I thought, the best retro boomboxes. So I thought, well, not Rolling Stone, the esteemed Rolling Stone think of the best retro boomboxes. Well, first off, there's a picture at the top there that's a really badly photoshopped disaster with a guy with one of them Aldi well, I call them Aldi boomboxes, they're not, but you know, that's the one that I reviewed when it was on sale at Aldi in the UK. And it lists it as number one there. Number one, the Rip Tunes cassette boombox. Well, of course, it's whoever wants to put their label on it. The Techno cassette boombox, except I wouldn't put my channel name on it because I'd be embarrassed. And they go on about it being like pros, a lot of ways to play music. Cons, no CD player. There's not like cons, it's absolute crap. Pros, none. There are no pros whatsoever. Next one down, Sony CFDS 70. All right, fair enough. The last boombox, portable stereo radio cassette player being made that's of acceptable quality, although it's very thin on the sound. Did they mention the very thin sound? Cons, non-retro aesthetic. No, okay. Next one, Victrola. A swear word to me. Victrola VBB10. Okay, so again, another one of these Alibaba, AliExpress, rebadged Chinese things that's just put together for about £3.50. And it says here, Victrola has been making audio gear for almost 120 years. Well, I'll tell you what, first thing is, they haven't. They were around for a bit, they were bought by, was it RCA or something? Or merged into it anyway, so the name hasn't been used for ages, fell out of use, and then a guy bought it in 2014, I think, or something, and started putting Chinese garbage with the Victrola name on it. So yeah, the whole kind of history of Victrola, irrelevant. Also, it says they've been making audio gear for 120 years. Well, I haven't made this. Some factory in Shenzhen pooped it out of the end. So yeah, that just I thought, this is Rolling Stone. Come on, guys. And then the next one is that GPO Brooklyn, which I reviewed. It was just awful. And the cons on that are maybe too big for some people. That could have been maybe too big to fit in your wheelie bin. But that, yeah, so as I was mentioning with the Amstrad thing, you know, like people are kind of forgetting or they're quite happy with things being really mediocre quality. It seems like Rolling Stone are as well. They used to be into music, didn't they? I thought that was the whole point of the thing. But I'm not a snob about music. As you know, I've reviewed little micro hi-fi systems that I really like. I've got one up here, a little micro system. I got some new little wired speakers for a little mini disc player. I've got some great little systems that are enjoyable things and have a nice tone to them. But there's certain things that are just rubbish, aren't there? Finally, well, two things. Actually, first one, I'll go in reverse order. I've got a few things saying the Walkman is back. Do you see this? Like online, the Walkman is back. Sony's brought back the Walkman. Here it is, the Walkman's back. I don't know what happened with this. The Walkman never went anywhere. It's evolved over the years between a cassette Walkman and a CD Walkman and a mini disc Walkman, solid state MP3 Walkman, but it's always been there. Even if you just go into the MP3s, the first MP3 Walkman was 1999, 3 years I think before the first iPod. So Sony had been doing MP3 players before Apple did, and they're still doing them after Apple did as well, if you exclude the phones, of course. So as a standalone just music player, they've never stopped, and they've always been doing them, and they've evolved over the years in different designs. And as I've shown before, hold on, you can just have a look at my ball patch for a minute while I try and find that one on here. No, can't find it, but I've got this one. You know, the little anniversary Walkman thing, the NWA 100 or 105, depending upon whether it's the anniversary one or the standard one. I think it's NWA 100. That's got USB-C on it, runs an Android operating system. The Walkman side of it is now an app within an Android phone that basically is a phone without the telephone part of the communication system, but you got your Wi-Fi and all that. The new one is the NWA 306. So it's just an upgrade. It's just the same thing, upgraded. Better sound quality probably, maybe a better Bluetooth standard, that kind of thing. But it's nothing new. It's not new, as in like a product has reappeared. It's just an update to a product range that's been updated ever since 1979. And yet I'm getting this, the Walkman is back thing. It's like, where did it go? There's always been about 5 different ones for sale on the website at any moment, for as long back as you can remember, for the MP3 players. Anyway, just wanted to mention that because I kept seeing things online, like big headlines, and somehow, just because it's been at the CES show, everyone's kind of lost their mind. It's like, look, you could have just gone on the website at any point in the last 10 years. You'd have found something very similar. But finally, the last thing I wanted to mention about spam bots, you know, in the comments, we've had this issue with the spam bots coming in and saying, telegram me, text me, and then all the ones with the pictures of somebody's bottom and all that. Well, the last video that went out, the Amstrad video, I put it out and I thought, oh, best just check, see if there's any of these spam things just to get rid of them, you know, after it had been up for about 10 minutes. And I looked and it was like, all the way down, like blasted with them. There were more of those than there were legit comments. So I'm going through, I'm going delete that one, delete that, you go block, 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 all the way down. Yeah, that's a fake one, that's a fake one. You can always spot them because it's either a picture of some woman's bottom or it's got a lot of emojis in it and it's also been voted up a long way. So, you know, so right, okay, cool. Refresh, as many again. Like another 50 perhaps. Same thing again. So, of course, I'm blocking these accounts, so they're not able to repost under the same account, but it's all automated, and there's thousands of accounts doing this. And it targets a new video that goes out on my channel every time. And throughout the evening, I was doing that until I thought, well, eventually I'm going to have to get to the end of this, because there won't be enough bots out there that have been newly created since my last video to be able to post on this. And eventually I did sort of get to the bottom of it. But one issue is that over the years, well, last year or so, I put in a lot of block comments. You have won, congratulations, telegram me, etc., etc. Dozens of block phrases like that, so that if any of those things go in there, they'll automatically go in my spam bit anyway, and it won't get posted on the public page. But they've gone to the point now where it's just emojis, like pointing upwards, fingers pointed upwards, thumbs up, you know, whatever, stars and stuff. And then in the person's channel description thing, it'll be like telegram me on such and such, so that actually the name of the channel is that. So, you know, you can't block these effectively, because I can't put emojis into my blocked phrases list. I've tried with like thumbs up and picture, it won't accept it. It doesn't recognize an emoji as something you can block, and yet you can post emojis in the comments. So I can't block these ones now. I've run out of things, so my only way to do it is to go in and manually delete them all. And I spent all evening doing that, and then I got up the next morning because I had to sleep because I'm not an Android, and I woke up and I got somebody to email me and said, can you do something about these comments? And they sent me like an example, and I'm like, I spent all evening getting rid of those, and there was like perhaps one more somewhere on the channel. They didn't even say where it was, they just posted the comment. So, you know, it'll be under some video somewhere. I've got over 600 videos. I don't know which video that comment will be under, but there's nothing I can do about it. So, yeah, just wanted to say, I don't know what I'm going to do there. I might have to just turn off comments. I was wondering if it was to turn off comments for the first hour and then turn them on later, if that would work. But the problem with that is YouTube's algorithm looks at engagement, looks at comments as a positive thing, and if a video is getting loads of comments, it'll promote it to other people to see. So if you turn off comments, you're effectively doing in your own chances of getting that video seen. So I could just let them all spam, but I'd let them all go in there and think, look, people are sensible enough to know that this is garbage, but they're not sensible enough. Like that guy that emailed me earlier on, and the people saying that, like, there's somebody in your comments spamming you. There's this guy who's doing it. They don't understand the whole concept of bots and automated things. You can't explain it to people. The number of years I tried to explain to people what a cheese sandwich video was, or to have a look in the video description. I've been saying have a look in the video description for 15 years now on YouTube, and every video someone will say something, I'll say, yeah, it's in the video description. So I can tell this message is never going to get through if I say, look, these are automated nonsense, just ignore them. People are just going to be falling for it. And you're thinking, well, maybe you should just let people fall for it and lose all their money. But, you know, it doesn't seem right, does it? Anyway, just wanted to mention that as a situation. There's no solutions you can come up with. Don't try and rack your brains. It's automated. It's all automated stuff. And I can't stop it happening. It's YouTube needs to stop it happening at their end. It's their responsibility. Number one thing they could do, stop people posting emojis in the comments. Problem solved. Number two thing, stop people putting silly messages in their name of their channel if it just said like John Smith or something. Another thing, stop people posting pictures of bottoms in the little image next to their username. I mean, there are things that can identify nudity. We're aware that there's been various things online where nudity has been identified on this, that and the other, and it's been blocked. Well, if you can identify it in one place, you can identify if someone posts a picture of a bum in a little circle, can't you? You'd hope so, wouldn't you? I mean, they've got about AI and self-driving cars. If you can't spot a bottom in a circle, but I can, then maybe they should start putting their computers into bottom hunting rather than trying to drive between two sets of stripy white lines. Anyway, I think I'm going a bit weird. Need to have another coffee. So that is this month's update. I do apologise again for not... I know you say, oh, it doesn't matter. No, I feel bad about it because I wanted some more stuff going out there, and I was really struggling. I've been pulling my hair out what little there is, and I feel like I failed in January. So I'm hoping I'll get some more stuff done in February. I'll try harder and try and get some stuff out. Also, not enough cool stuff coming out, like a real dearth of interesting things. Maybe I've reached the end of tech. I might have done that. You know, when the patent office thought that everything that possibly could be patented or patented had been. I think maybe I've featured every piece of technology that's ever existed in the world. Possibly. Anyway, that's it for the moment. Thanks for watching. And I was going to say, as always, thanks for watching. I'm not going to do that just yet because that's like general public, isn't it? Thanks for your support. Thanks for your help. Thanks for your feedback. Remember, there's people on Patreon that are posting things in that community tab sometimes. There's comments we can respond to. You can maybe help each other out. Be nice to each other, and other people will be nice back. That's it. Right, so that's it for the moment. As always, I'm stumbling over words. Thanks for watching. Bye.